Alright, and welcome back. Now it's starting to look like something finally, huh? Now, I'm certainly not going to have the exhaust coming out like that. But that's the start of it. What those are just pieces of sprue. I was going to be using, you see over here, I was going to be using this thick solder. But just looking at the weight of it, I decided to use plastic. So I got some nice pieces of sprue, and what I've done here, if you see there, I have created these bends at the end of those headers so that they can bend up and out of the hood. Now I have to make another bend right as it comes out of the hood. I want them to angle back a little bit, and I'll be doing that shortly. But I just wanted to do a quick demonstration on how you bend the sprue like that. Basically, you use a soldering iron. I've got it set up right over here, and let me move the camera and I'll show you how I do that. Okay guys, here we go. I've got the soldering iron nice and warm, or it's hot, and I've got the sprue here. And so what I'm doing is I'm holding it in this hand, and I'm just going to touch it on this side. And yeah, I did already touch it to the iron there, but for demonstration purposes I'm just doing it this way. So you're holding at both ends, and what you do is you get it as close as you can, well, not as close as you can get, just get it pretty close, and spin it. So what you're doing is heating it on all sides all the way through, and your other, you see what's happening there? Your other finger is there to feel. I'm pulling it away. This is a bad example because of it, the way it touched the iron already. But if you can see what happened, because I didn't explain while it was happening, I'll do the other end, is what I'll do, yeah. Okay, so we're going to make a new bend on this side. And it's going to be harder now because it won't spin on the other side because it's got a hook. So I'm feeling for when it gets warm enough to bend. And when that happens, you want to pull it away, because otherwise it'll get so hot that it will make a indentation there. And it's hard to spin because it's got this hook now. So, bad example, and it'll give negative commenters an opportunity to say I'm doing it wrong. So I've accidentally touched it already, so this one's ruined, and so on. There it goes. So pull it away and bend. And then hold it where you want it till it gets cool. And then you got it. And then it looks like a nice bent exhaust pipe rather than something that has been, you know, melted. And that's it. Alright, moving on. Okay, and so here's a look at the double bend. They're not two 90-degree angles. Let's see if I can show down in there. So 90 degrees coming off of the header, and then more like about 45 degrees, and a compound angle. You know, they're not symmetrical with the first angle because it has to go out to the sides. And I realize nothing looks straight because the engine is not glued in, and these things are not glued in, and it's an extreme mock-up. You just look at this thing the wrong way and it keeps falling apart. So at this point I will cut, they're not going to be that long of course. I'm cutting them off what would be maybe about 10 inches in real scale. So what? Oh, you'll see. they're not going to be sticking out that far from the sides. But of course the exhaust had to be deflected away from the cab, so that's the way that's going to do it. And then of course I can sand them up and drill out the end and make them look like exhaust. So I'll be working on that, and maybe that'll be in the next scene. So actually quite a bit has happened since the last scene. Actually quite a few months, I think, have happened since the last scene. So what has happened now is, because everything kept on falling apart, I have glued a lot of things together. I've got the windshield is in there, the interior bucket is in there, and the body is now attached to the frame. So all this stays in place so that I can work on getting this engine lined up correctly. That is still not glued in. But I've got the exhaust pipes cut to size, and I'm working on, well, I'm sanding the seam off of there. That's why I've got that black Sharpie marker line on there. And then we'll drill out the end, and we'll have these sticking up out of the engine and off to the side. And then there will be the long task of trying to figure out how to cut the sides of the hood after it's painted, because I wasn't thinking. But anyway, I think that this episode is going to wrap up with getting those exhaust pipes on there, and then the following final episode will be trying to get the grill on there and cutting the hood. So the final episode is going to be pretty short, but that's the one that's going to have the nice slideshow out in the sun. Anyway, let's work on those exhaust pipes and try to wrap up this episode. Okay, here we go. There's a look at those exhaust pipes, the way basically they're going to be. They're not glued in yet, nor is the engine, but that's the basic gist. See, it looks like bull horns. And so now I've just got to put a couple of big notches in the hood so that those can come out the hood. And that's what it's going to look like. So we're basically on track to finish it in the next episode, but that wraps it up for this one. Appreciate you watching. Sorry it's taken so long. I think we're going to do absolute box stock on the next build, because, wow, the time for the scratch building just doesn't exist anymore. But I will finish this one. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.